Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting week. Again, to do my show here on Facebook. This is the Breakfast Show with Dr. Kojo. My name is Kojo Sarfo, checking in from sunny Los Angeles, California, or what I hope will be a sunny day here in LA. I feel good. My Titans won yesterday, so I'm going to represent my team on Victory Monday. And we're here to talk about three things that three things that you may not have known about ADHD, because October is ADHD Awareness Month. But before we get into that, go ahead and use the comment section to let me know what your name is, where you're watching this from, and then let's go ahead and get into it. Let's see who we got here. We got Michael Diamond. Hey, Mike, what's going on? How you doing, fam? We got Elizabeth Noah. Elizabeth, what's up? TJ, I appreciate you, but God, thank you so much. How are you doing? So this is going to be a really, really good show. I'm hoping you all learn a thing or two or three, from it. And after this show, before I go to the gym, we will be on TV, ABC 7 LA, talking about ADHD, because October is ADHD Awareness Month. So after this show, I would love if you all went to the website, abc7la.com. I'll put the website here, and then we can watch, me talk about ADHD on TV, so that should be pretty cool, because we get to spread awareness, for like a bigger platform. I think that's cool. But let's go ahead and see who's in here. Kirk says, there's a couple of, hey, likewise, I love you, bro. I love my whole community. I appreciate y'all. Leilani, what's going on? Leilani from Tennessee, Rachel from North Carolina, Alex from Australia, Chaz, I appreciate you. Philippines. Yeah, my team won yesterday. I'm doing pretty good. North Carolina in the house. I was watching from West Virginia. I didn't get diagnosed until ADHD until I was 30. Tara, thank you for sharing. Hold that thought about getting diagnosed late, because I got something to say about that. But hold that thought. We got Megan checking in from Florida. Megan, what's going on? We got Regina checking in from Rock Island, Illinois. Rebecca from Michigan. Sean watching from that's my alarm. I have like a million on just in case I oversleep. So I throw like 8 alarms on. That's also like an ADHD thing, I think. It's not a diagnostic criteria, but you get the point. Kayla, what's up? All right, let's go ahead and let's get started. So I was 43 when I figured it out. Right, and unfortunately with ADHD in women have to wait decades, like years and years and years, a lot of times to get diagnosed properly, and that sucks, but that's what we're talking about it. But shout out, a lot of love from South Carolina. Okay. All right, so the three things that you may not have known about ADHD. Let's go ahead and talk about it right here. All right, so this I won't be staying long. Alex, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Love from Arkansas. That's dope. Brett. The first love of the show for Brett right here. Yo, we needed these 2 wins. We started the season off 0-2. I was like, Lord, please do not let this be a long football season. Please just let the Titans win. And we we won. Thank you, Jesus. All right, number 1. ADHD is not contagious, right? And you all probably knew this, but it's still important to talk about it, right? Because I did have somebody ask me a question. They said, "Oh, I've been hanging out with blah, 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 blah. I feel like I'm more forgetful now." All right, now hanging out with your forgetful friend may make you more forgetful, or you take on the energy of the people that you're around, right? But it's not contagious. You're not going to get ADHD just by hanging out with somebody who is, has ADHD. If anything, if it runs in family, so there's a genetic link with ADHD, right? So it's not just coming from nowhere. Like if you have it, there's a decent chance that either your mother or your father has ADHD, right? So that's the part that I get, right? You're coming from a family, maybe you're coming from an ADHD household. I get that part, right? So that could be how you have it. But you don't have it because you hung out with your sister or your friend or whoever who, so it's not a dumb question. I always say there's no such thing as a dumb question. It just gives us a chance to talk about things more and more. So not a dumb question, but you cannot get ADHD just by hanging around people who have it. So just keep that in mind. It's not contagious. And a lot of people have been complaining of ADHD like symptoms where people say things like, oh, I'm having a hard time focusing, or like I feel like my memory is all over the place. You have to understand there's a lot of things that can affect your memory, right? Like even post COVID, this brain fog thing, the brain fog thing is a real thing. And people sometimes have a hard time recalling things, or their memory might not be as good as it used to be. Depression will affect your memory. Insomnia will affect your memory. A lot of things can make it difficult to focus and to lock in. So you're not you don't have ADHD just because you hung around people who had it, right? And I think that was one of my yeah. So this will lead me to my second point. But before I get into the second point, let me read through you all's comments. Leilani, what was the question, please? Sky says, my name is Sky. I just got diagnosed at 47 years old. It makes so much sense to my entire life, which I know sooner. School, relationships, jobs, all would have been much more understandable. Sky, thank you for sharing. And this is the part that is sometimes difficult, because when people realize that they have this condition later in life, and they're like, damn, that's why like I was so impulsive in a relationship, or whatever the case may be. It kind of sucks, because then you may live and not that you have regrets, but you kind of feel like you didn't tap into your full potential, and you feel like you missed out on something because you didn't catch the problem in time. But as we know better, we can do better, right? So it's important to talk about these things, and then maybe you can advocate for your kids or the people in your family who may have ADHD as well. Um, uh, yes, Tara, it is genetic, So a lot of times it's funny, because a lot of times I know women will get diagnosed with ADHD after their son or their daughter has been diagnosed. Because if your child's in school, you're gonna be able to pick up on, hey, is this kid able to like focus, or is this kid able to like not be the class clown or make like a lot of distractions, boom, boom, boom. But if they key on your child and they're like, okay, let's test them for ADHD, and then they find out that your child does have it, then you might be like, like I feel like I was the same kid in middle school or high school, but nobody like said anything, right? Um, Lions never win. It was close. Y'all only lost by 3. Y'all only lost by 3. And Sky says, exactly, no regrets. Just exactly. Because here's the important thing about knowing. Like when you no longer think that you're a dumb person, and you're like, all right, okay, so I have ADHD, cool. As opposed to being like, damn, like I forget everything every morning. Like I'm so forgetful, and then wherever you say behind I'm so, you start to really believe that thing over and over and over again, right? So that's why it's important to know. Someone said the with Sky. Yeah, it's important to just know, like, all right, I got this thing. I'm not gonna let it define me, but I just gotta know, right? And Chris's question is the reason why I have ADHD, but I don't feel pain like a regular person. And I'm sure there's a better phrase, but is that a thing? All right, so you got your question in front of me. Don't feel pain like a regular person. And I'm sure there's a better way to phrase it. All right, so what I'm trying to figure out is, when you say pain, do you mean here's my first thought. Do you mean emotional pain, or like physical, like like I got into a car accident, or like I've been tackled? Because if it's emotional pain, you might be talking about RSD, like rejection sensitive dysphoria, where people with ADHD could be, more sensitive, and they have a harder time accepting, like, rejection, feeling like the rejection really means that, oh, like you hate me, like you're really rejecting me, that is more closely tied to ADHD. But I think you're talking about like physical pain, um, and from that perspective, nothing comes to the top of my head like a correlation between ADHD and being able to have like a higher threshold for like pain. I've not heard of that. I'm gonna have to to look that up, but I can't not off the top of my head. I don't. There's no correlation that I'm able to like tie in the two. And Claire, so this is my next point right here, Claire. But before we jump the gun, let me see what Chrissy's follow up was. Jacqueline, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Um, let me see. Do you feel pain the same way emotionally and physically? Is that your experience, Fran? Or so it says, OMG, this question. So a lot of people must have wanted to know that question. And someone said something about I wish I knew sooner as well. Michelle Flint, where's Michelle Flint's question? Michelle says, okay, all right. All right, let me talk about Michelle's question and then we'll get to the second point. How do you approach your how do you approach ADHD with your doctor without looking like you're being Dr. Google? This is hilarious, but it's kind of sad. Like it's funny, but it's kind of sad because I see where you're going here, right? Like you want to go in for a psychiatric evaluation and you want to get checked out for ADHD, but you're gonna feel like if you go in and the first thing you say is, "Hey, can I get checked out for ADHD?" You're going to think that the doctor is assuming that you're drug seeking. So more than likely you're afraid to go in for an assessment because you think that they think you only want Adderall or whatever, right? But I think it's important to be able to advocate for yourself without worrying about, and you're still going to worry about what the doctor or what the provider will say. But like, keep in mind, like you're paying for a service, right? Whether it's insurance or whatever the case may be, but you're paying for a service where the other person has a responsibility. They have a duty to take care of you and to diagnose you if there is a diagnosis. So once you do the whole psychiatric evaluation, there's going to be a part in there where you talk about past meds, boom, 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 all that stuff, or like how you're feeling right now, like what's been going on in the past. And you're going to have a chance to speak up for yourself and say, hey, I feel like I've been doing boom, boom, boom. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I feel like I may have ADHD. I'm not sure because I do X, Y, and Z. I don't think there's anything wrong with like somebody saying that, or like if somebody tells me that, I'm not offended. I'm like, okay, sure. Let's just keep going down. Let's keep asking the questions and let's see like where we go from there. But there could be some practitioners who could be offended, because everybody got a little bit of ego. Somebody might be like, oh, I know my job better than you. Like, you know, find another doctor. Like this is the diagnosis and this is it, right? And we know that women are more likely to be misdiagnosed with like mood disorders or depression or anxiety or whatever, as opposed to the actual correct diagnosis of ADHD. And even with bipolar disorder, we miss that diagnosis. There's like a 10-year delay. Like we should be diagnosing bipolar 10 years before people actually get a diagnosis. So we got a lot to work on the professional side of things. And I guess just these lives and these videos help to make people more comfortable to talk to a doctor, because it's kind of scary to talk to even when I went to get checked, like it was kind of scary just talking to a doctor, because like you just don't know what's going to happen, right. And if you are going right, all right. So the net of it is, if you go to a good doctor, right, they're not going to think negatively about you and they're going to help you. And if it's somebody who they're not familiar with how ADHD works, I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody saying, hey, I don't know too much about ADHD or in women or whatever. I'm going to refer you to somebody, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Love from Denmark, Dragana. What's up? What's up? How you doing? All right. So the second thing that people may not know about ADHD, and somebody already kind of like touched on it earlier, but number two, it doesn't develop out of nowhere or anywhere as an adult. Maybe the wording is a little bit awkward there. Doesn't develop out of nowhere. All right, so that wording is bad. Kojo, note to self, make that make more sense. But you don't wake up at the age of 27 and all of a sudden you have ADHD. That's not how it works. It is genetic. Technically, you are born this way, for lack of a better term. This is just how your brain developed, right? And this whole idea of adult onset ADHD, like, oh, I developed ADHD when I turned 34 years old. I don't know too much about that. I don't think that's uh as from what I know right now, it's not a thing. We're still doing research. Maybe I've been posting too many videos online. I haven't been looking at research, but the last time I checked, you cannot develop ADHD just you know like as an adult. Like, it's something that, like, you're born with it. It should affect you as a child, right? And technically, the signs and symptoms, we look for them before the age of 12. They should have been presented before the age of 12, but because of insurance, a lack of access to care, maybe your parents didn't know what to do. A lot of people just, they weren't able to get diagnosed in time. They had to wait until they became an adult, right? I'm one of those people, but it doesn't mean that you didn't it didn't affect you as a child, right? It may have affected you, different degrees. Like, different people would have felt different things, but just understand that it's not you're not turning 26 and you're just getting ADHD, but it's something that you probably had your whole life, if you do have it. All right. And my roommate thinks ADHD is just from kids in struggling households, and it offends me because I know it's a real thing. How could I explain to them ADHD is real and not laziness? All right, so Sarah, this is what I'll tell you. Personally, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna go back and forth with somebody, especially on like evidence based information. Like, this is not me making it up. Like, this is evidence based information. Now, if me making it up is like Michael Jordan versus LeBron, like, I like LeBron, and you might like Michael Jordan. We can go back and forth, and I can debate you. So no, LeBron, because who knows who's really better, right? I can be Team LeBron. You can be Team Michael Jordan. This is different. Like, we actually know that ADHD is real. So while we spend our time trying to argue with somebody who is dedicated to thinking the opposite, is only gonna kind of is gonna waste your time. Like, I'm not saying to be like, I'm not saying be an asshole and be like, whatever, roommate. But it's like, why am I gonna sit here and try and like talk to you and explain something to you, but you're committed on not believing what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is actually real. Like, there's studies and evidence. Like, it's not something that was made up. So I wouldn't even like. I mean, sure, your roommate, somebody you have to see every day, talk to them, explain to them once or twice. But I wouldn't go back and forth with somebody who doesn't want to, understand or learn. If they're not open minded, then just say, "Oh, okay, cool." Like, you don't have to be rude, but be like, "All right, cool. All right, you don't think it's real? Cool." That's how I get out of things. Like, I'm just not gonna go back and forth. It's gonna like drain my energy. You know, I was just gonna drain my energy. Lauren says, "Is there a medicine to help you remember to take your medicine?" To my knowledge, no. But if there was a medicine that could do that, then whoever creates that medication is a billionaire, because meds don't work unless you take them. But it's hard to remember to take it. Like, I know that was a joke, but like, it's hard to remember to take it. Um, let me see. CBD. So there's evidence that shows that CBD can be therapeutic. It is out there. I need to do more research into it. Even the THC side of things, with cannabis, I need to do more research into that. I do know that the later somebody starts using, like, medical marijuana or cannabis or whatever, the better, right? I know it's kind of weird because, like, I can't come to you all as a medical professional and say, wait till you turn 25 and then, then start using cannabis. It doesn't work that way. But for people who, the longer you wait, it doesn't affect your brain as much, like, in the acute period, you know, like, for people who, like, when you're a teen, the younger you start using, like cannabis, it's been known to, like, put you at risk for mood disorders, lower your IQ, boom, 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 things like that. But the later you start, it's not doesn't do as much. So there could be a lane for people with ADHD to use CBD products or THC or whatever the case may be. But I'll have to really make sure that I had my facts correct, because it's not like Ritalin or Vyvanse that we can prescribe and we kind of know what it does. So we got to be a little bit careful with that. But I do believe that there could be some promising evidence with CBD and THC. And Kay says they just thought I was a slow learner or selective hearing or showing off. Oh, okay, this is how you described in school, right? And Facebook, you said years of thinking I was lazy and broken. I presented since I can remember. I got the bipolar diagnosis first, prescribed Lamictal, and I got medically induced lupus. Getting help is scary now. All right, so Facebook user, first of all, I'm sorry that you went through this, and I don't know if you're a man or a woman, but with women, a lot of times they'll get misdiagnosed. So if you get misdiagnosed, the reason why that sucks is because if you get misdiagnosed, you're gonna get prescribed medication for the condition that they think you have, not what you actually have. So like Lamictal is a good medication. I've used it for my patients before, but if you don't have bipolar disorder, or if you're misdiagnosed, then it's not right. It's not gonna like how's it gonna help you out because that's not what you have. So it sucks that you got the wrong diagnosis in, and yeah, it's gonna make it scary to get help. But I think when you can write it out. You can weigh the pros and cons and figure out, all right, is it worth it for me to get help? And then if you ask me, I'm going to tell you it is, right? Because I can tell you so many people who were scared or hesitant and they went out there and said, all right, F it. I'm just going to go find a doctor. And then after they go get help, they're like, oh, my life is so much better now that I went to go get therapy or meds or a support system or a dietitian or whatever type of help that they got. So I think getting help is a cool thing. All right, let me see. If someone wasn't sleeping well and getting required sleep like you need in the morning's a nightmare, we started my melatonin made a world difference. All right. So maybe I missed something on melatonin. Melatonin is I can't tell y'all what to take and what not to take, but melatonin can be very helpful. It is the body does produce it naturally, so I guess the best way to make sure that you're allowing your body to produce melatonin is to not be up on your phone too late at night and let that blue light mess up with your melatonin. But there's all these phones and tablets and devices and iPads and computers and streaming services. But having melatonin like nearby is not the worst idea in the world. All right, let me see. Sky says get tested. Yeah, I mean this is how I would approach it, but like I can't tell people to like get up and leave their house and just go find a doctor and get a mental health assessment. But I would I would do this like if I was so curious to where I'm like I think I got something, but I'm not sure, and I have access to resources. I would go get checked. All right, all right. What does bipolar one with mild mania mean? Ariel, I'm not sure what this means. Uh, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with me saying I don't know while I see a question. Because if it says bipolar one, the only way you can get bipolar one is by having mania, right? So you might be talking about hypomania, but if you have hypomania, is more so a bipolar two thing, right? If you have bipolar one disorder, you're gonna have mania, like a full blown manic episode. So there is no bipolar one with mild mania because mild mania, I'm assuming, is hypomania, but or that's not a term I use, mild mania. But if it's bipolar one, it's mania. It just is. So that's a manic episode. Maybe there's degrees, right? Like maybe like you have like a mild. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean, but all I know is bipolar one. If it's mania, it's a full blown manic episode, and hypomania is more so of a bipolar 2 thing, but you do have to have a depressive episode along with that. Let me know if that makes sense or no. In case other people are wondering, bipolar 1 disorder, like let's take it right here. Bipolar 1, all you have to have is a manic episode and then you can get that diagnosis, right? So a manic episode, bipolar 1, that's it. A lot of times you may get depressed as well, but the depressive episode is not required for the diagnosis, but just a manic episode. And then bipolar 2, you have to have at least a depressive episode and then a hypomanic episode, which would be the closest thing to this mild mania that you're describing. Which is hypomania is mania, but it's not like full blown. So in a way, I guess that's mild mania. I think that's what you're trying to say. I think that's mild mania, but we don't use that term. So like I'm not sure what you mean by mild mania, but it is a good question. Nia says, is bipolar related genetically to ADHD? So with ADHD, you can have a lot of other conditions, right? Like a bipolar disorder, like a depression, like anxiety. And the interesting thing between ADHD and bipolar is that there's a lot of overlap. So I can see how, people would mess up the diagnosis, ADHD or bipolar disorder. Like you have the insomnia, then you can have the mania where people are not sleeping at night. Then you have the impulsivity. You can see that in both. You can have the difficulty with financial management. There's a lot of things that look like, could be either an ADHD or a bipolar thing. So it's important to get professionally assessed and then to really figure out, like, what is it? Is it this or is it that? Or is it both? Some people have both. If it's both, then no treatment. Might be a little complicated, but I don't think it's that complicated to me. But you just have to have somebody who knows what they're doing. That's all. You know. And it I thought about this the other day. I was just having some random thoughts, and I'll get back to the third one. I'm like, when you go to see like a random doctor, right? You don't know who the hell you're going to see, right? So sometimes you might be at the mercy of like the provider, and if you have a good provider and somebody who is knowledgeable, number one, number two, somebody who will listen, because you can read all the medical books in the world. If you don't listen, then how can you listen to your patient, right? But assuming you find somebody who is knowledgeable and they'll listen, I feel like you can get closer to the right diagnosis, right? They may mess it up at first. I mean, like I'm sure I've messed up diagnoses in the past before. I don't know everything, but once you realize that, okay, I may have messed this up, then you have to quickly pivot, update the diagnosis. We do this all the time. We'll update a diagnosis where it's like, all right, we thought they were depressed, but now we see that they have a manic episode or a hypomanic episode. So the diagnosis goes from depression to bipolar 2, right? So people are going to make mistakes, right? But it's going to have somebody who can say, you know what, I messed up. Let's look at this again, and they'll ask you more questions, right? So yeah, people can make mistakes. Lithium, I posted about lithium in the video earlier, and I don't talk about medications often, but I was talking about the top 5 meds that I prescribe the most, and lithium was on there. And in my opinion, I can't recommend anything to anybody, but it was helpful for my patients who have bipolar disorder, and also it helps to reduce suicidality as well. And there's only 2 meds that help to reduce suicidality. This one, and then clozaril. So that's I think that's significant. And also speaking of suicide, is it next week? Yeah, next week I'll be in Alabama talking about suicide prevention at the University of Alabama. So I'm excited. I'm a little nervous because it's been a while since I've been back south, but I'm excited to. I'm excited. Yeah. All right. So this is the third thing that people may not have known about ADHD, and this is meds do not fix everything. Meds do not fix everything. Let me see what I'm saying. 18 years of age, I have depression, take meds, self-diagnosed ADHD. Okay, all right. So let's stop right there. The self-diagnosed ADHD, it would be good to get a professional diagnosis, but let's continue. It's so hard for me to live, and it's so hard for me to keep doing my studies. Earlier, I was listening to a class, and a minute later, I find myself doing something completely random. I get mad at myself for it, but also sad. It's something I can't control. I just want to keep up with my life and my studies. All right, so for this person, if Nicole struggling in high school, so if I was Nicole, I would continue to take my medications that were given to me for depression. I would keep taking those, right? But then I would try and find professional help and see if you can get somebody to check you out for ADHD, because I feel like if you have ADHD and depression, right, I feel like you have to kind of treat both. If you don't treat both, it's going to be harder, right? So that might be good to hear for you, because you're going to realize that you've been playing life on hard mode a bit. I feel like the meds help you out, yes, but if you also have ADHD as well, then you being able to concentrate, or you being able to regulate your attention, would help to make you feel better, because some of you not feeling good is coming from the fact that you can't focus, you keep jumping from thing to thing. So I think it's going to be helpful to get professionally assessed. But even if you think you have ADHD, you can already go ahead and say, hey, I think I may have this. I don't know, but use that as an opportunity to be kinder to yourself. Like the same things I tell people with ADHD to do, to take time for yourself, to be kind to yourself, to not try and do it all in one day. I would start doing those things as if like you had ADHD, but even you don't know for sure now, right? But it's not going to hurt anybody to be mindful of how they talk to themselves, to create simple routines that they can accomplish every day. I think anybody would benefit from that. It's just that if you have ADHD, you really really may have to do that. Like you probably don't have the option of like just being all over the place. Like you have to really, really lock in and focus, right? But that's why I would say to you: don't judge yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself, right? Do the best that you can, and the most linear path you can take to finding a professional is probably what I would do. Um, Elizabeth says, "Roll Tide, welcome to Alabama." Yeah, I cannot wait to be back in Alabama. So hopefully, I see some of you all out there. But if not, I'm gonna enjoy my time being back in Alabama. But my last point is the meds don't fix everything, and this is frustrating because this is frustrating on both ends, right? Because I think a lot of times providers will be like, "All right, so and so came in, the diagnosis ADHD. We're gonna give them Ritalin and send them home, and then they should feel better, right?" And I believe that the ADHD medications are probably the most effective, or they're among some of the most effective meds we have in psychiatry. So when it doesn't work, sometimes we're like, "Oh snap! Like this is our best. This is our best shot. Like I have nothing else in my back pocket that's going to be helpful for the patient." But I disagree. I think that it's more than just meds, right? Meds are extremely important in this whole ADHD puzzle, like trying to like make it better. I agree with that. But there's something to be said about having a good support system, people who support you, people who love you, people who care about you, having external accountability, whether it's somebody who is, making sure that you stay in the gym, or somebody who's like, hey, I'm going to come over and body double with you. Like, I'm going to come and get work done, and let's work together to get this assignment done, right? Or somebody who's like, all right, we're going to do a simple routine every day in the morning, right? Like, for example, Groupthink, the app that we have coming out. And by the way, thank you for your patience with Groupthink. It's taken a while to get the app out, but it will be coming out October, right? But an app like that where I'm like, all right, all we're going to do is wake up, eat breakfast, and go for a walk. If we can do it collectively together and we can see that other people are doing it, that's going to give you external accountability. Things like that, right? Things like that. The way you talk to yourself, getting enough sleep, making sure that you're not eating too much processed foods and dumping like refined sugars in your body. All of those things can help out somebody with ADHD, right? And none of those include medications, right? And there's some people who take no meds. All they do is stay in shape, watch what they when that's not I can't say all, that's all they do, but what they do is they work out, they have a simple routine, they don't beat themselves up, they put themselves in an environment where they can succeed, they have other people who are helping them out, who are speaking to them in a kind way. So meds don't get everything done, but they can be very helpful, if that makes sense. Right. So Rochelle says my husband doesn't fully understand my ADHD, anxiety, and depression. I feel like he might listen from you since he's a Tennessee Titans fan, so he followed any joke. So if your husband is a Titans fan, he's not a bad guy. Trust me, because as Titans fans, we're not bad people. So your husband's not a bad guy. And to be honest, not to defend your husband, but if I didn't have ADHD myself, and if I wasn't, a medical professional, I don't think I would understand ADHD, anxiety, or depression, right? Because that's why we're talking about mental health, because it's kind of like weird. We've never talked about it before, so it's kind of weird to understand. Like, if somebody's like, "Oh, I have ADHD, anxiety, and depression," you might be like, "Okay, all right, cool," But that's why we're talking more and more about it. And Rochelle, this is what I've seen to be helpful. Sometimes sending a video, like maybe showing your husband a video of like maybe ADHD paralysis, right, and explain to him. You could be like, "Hey, babe, anytime I, have an appointment at 3 o'clock and I wake up, I can't do anything before 3 because I might miss it. And this video describes how I feel." So showing your husband a video, right? And then him seeing it and looking through the comments, and people are like, "Oh, I feel the same exact way." And you look and the video has like 3 million views, then he might be like, "Oh, snap, like people like go through this," right? So I think sometimes videos seem to be how we communicate nowadays, right? Like that's how I've gained this platform. So maybe using a video, like take a video, show it to your husband, and that could be helpful. But he's a Titans fan, so he's a good guy. And today's Victory Monday, so we're all in a good mood. So today is a day. Today is a day that your husband has to understand ADHD, anxiety, and depression. Like, he has time today. He's in a good mood. So take a video and show it to him, and hopefully he hopefully he can understand. Like today's a good day. Today's a good day. And so Emily, once again, I get, this is actually a very common DM that I get, that I'm shocked I get. But a lot of people will say my partner doesn't understand me. But then even thinking back in my past relationships, there've been times when I felt like I haven't been understood, and it's a very, very frustrating feeling to be in a relationship with somebody who you want to build a life with, but it's like, do they understand me? Like, do they really know who I am? So having a partner who makes an effort to understand who you are, I think like that right there should be enough. Like, making an effort. They may not fully get it, right? But they can maybe at least try. Like try, you know. And Sky says, my partner of 21 years has been so patient and understanding, my total savior. Right. So, my mom would always say, and growing up, my mom would always say things like, "Kojo, the woman you choose to marry is gonna make or break things." So like, marriage is so important. And I was like, "Yeah, mom, whatever." But as I've gotten older, I realized that, oh snap, like your spouse, that's a big decision, right? Because it's somebody that you're choosing to make family, right? You want to build a family with them, or start a life with them in some capacity. So you're choosing to be with this person, right? So if you're choosing that, then you should be able to, we would hope that you choose somebody who is going to support you 1,000%, right? All right. And so can somebody drop the magic word in the chat, and let me get to some more comments. Positivity goes a long ways for me. Jared, like, being like, it's so important to be positive. Like, it's so important, like, to have that mindset, even if like you're having a rough day. Like, sometimes just smiling, and like you want to have that positive energy. Like, positive energy is an attractive energy to be around. Nobody wants to be around grumpy energy. But sometimes, like, maybe if depression is kicking your butt, whatever, it could be hard to just have the energy. Do you think ADHD makes you obsessed with going places? I don't know if that's an ADHD thing, but you can have a hyperfixation where you want to go to a certain restaurant all the time, or want to go to a certain, maybe you do something over and over because it's something that you just learned about, you know, maybe that. Cheers. Cheers. It's time for the water break. This is the time when we get to use, you know, water as a way to allow us to pause throughout the day and just be mindful for a second. So water break. Cheers. That was much needed. Cheers. Cheers. That was much needed. All right, let me read this one real quick, and then I'll prepare for ABC. My partner doesn't understand my need for some symbol of our relationship. It's not about jewelry, the tattoo, or the cost. It's about object permanence. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Any advice on how to explain that this is an emotional need and not a material one? Uh, so Daniel, I would start off by like screenshotting this comment or whatever. Like screenshot the same comment that you just left right here, either like right here or screenshot like you writing it, because it's important. The same way you were able to tell me all this right here, right? This is what your partner needs to hear, right? And you're able to tell, this is the truth. You're able to say the truth because like you're saying it to me, or like in this environment, so you're able to be transparent. So this is what he needs to, like this same thing right here, that, oh, it's not about the jewelry, the tattoo, or the cost, but it's about object permanence. And you want them to understand that it's an emotional need and not a material one. So saying that is what you should do. But I'm assuming that you tried that before and it's not working, right? So the thing that I would say is, what's the equivalent for him, right? Right? Like what makes sense for him from his perspective, right? Like, is it like him or you posting him on social media, or because there's something that has to like symbolize, okay, we are together, we are in a relationship, right? And because it's an emotional need and not a material one, it can be difficult to convey, right? Because like you can't really like, it's not about the jewelry, but it's about the emotion behind it, right? So I think really just asking him and saying, hey, how can I like explain this to you in a way that you would get it, but also the most important thing that you have to say is like, this is something that it's a need for me. There's a difference between needs and wants in a relationship. Like, a want is you want to go to the south of France for 3 weeks, right? Now, if you don't go to France on vacation for 3 weeks, you're gonna be all right? But if you don't get this type of thing within the relationship, you probably won't, because it's a need. You wrote emotional need, not a want, right? So there's a big difference between needs and wants, and explain that to your partner and saying, hey, like, this is a need, so I'm going to have to get this in some capacity. That might help. I may help to drive home the point, or at least I'm hoping that it does, right? I'm hoping that it does. All right. Okay. So I do have to get off, and I need to let my dog pee. I'm about to go put on my scrubs and then prepare for the TV segment. So we will be on ABC 7 LA talking about ADHD. Let me figure out what the website is so you all can watch, because I know not everybody is from California. Okay, all right. So abc7la.com. Let me drop the website here. Hey, anytime, Brett. I know my voice cracked. I hope it doesn't crack on TV. Mickey Ficky. It's early. It's early. It's early. It's early. All right. So abc7la.com. We'll be talking about ADHD on TV. I think it's important for like I between going on TV and doing this, I actually prefer this more, because like this is like my people. But it is important to go on TV to talk about these things, right? Because kid or even the adult who has ADHD who's watching, and you turn your TV and you see that people are talking about it, it's going to make you feel better because, growing up, nobody was talking about this type of thing. It was just, a couple of people took meds and that was it, right? And that's how you knew somebody had ADHD. So I think it's going to be very helpful to see somebody, like you or somebody who, is talking about something that you deal with, talking about that on TV. So I think that'd be very helpful. I'm looking forward to doing it. And I'm going to stop rambling now so I can go put my scrubs on. And my publicist is calling me now. Okay. All right. Y'all take care. I love y'all. And I'll see y'all on TV shortly.